Welcome to Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. This is where we talk about the woes of the world and what you can do about them. I'd like to talk to you today about a hypothetical scenario regarding healthcare. Let's say you got a pal. Their name is Mike, and uh, and Mike loses their job. Maybe it's a dead end job, and they decide they're going to leave it. They're gonna bet on themselves. Mike decides, for whatever reason, they lost their job. They decide they're going to cut some expenses, and perhaps ill-advised, one of the expenses they cut is their health insurance, because it's first of all very expensive in the U.S. Second of all, Mike thinks, I'm 30 years old. I'm reasonably healthy. I'm gonna take a small risk over the next couple of months, and I'm not gonna have health insurance while I get back on my feet. That is a realistic scenario. Well, when Mike is walking to a job interview, they're out of their car. They paid $5 for parking, and they're walking down to get interviewed, and they collapse. They get back up when they come to. They even go to the job interview. They finish it. Then they go to the doctor. Why did I pass out in the street? Well, it turns out Mike has cancer. Mike has cancer and no insurance. Well, Mike drains his savings trying to fight the cancer. He gets a job at Walmart as a greeter, because that's about what he can handle with his physical condition. And then the money runs out. Walmart doesn't pay a living wage, certainly not to a greeter. And Mike cannot afford any more treatments. Mike dies from not having money in the richest country in the world. Is that just? That's the question. Is that a just way for a country to operate? I argue that it isn't. And the question you need to ask yourself: are there certain things, are there certain services that every American should have, regardless of whether or not they have any money? Let's look at a different scenario. Mike's brother is killed. It's a rough life Mike leads. His brother's killed. He doesn't have any money to have it investigated by a private detective. Well, why would that even be an issue? You just call the police. The police will investigate any murder. It doesn't matter who got killed. If you were in America in the early 1800s, that wouldn't be such an odd question, because America used to rely on a company called the Pinkertons to do the majority of its investigating. Also, it's union busting. We privatized that. Or rather, it was privatized. And it wasn't until we agreed collectively that there needed to be a police force that would investigate crimes that we had one. Oh, let's say Canada, for some reason, decides to invade the U.S. and take over Mike's house. This is while Mike is dying slowly from cancer, and they think he's going to be dead anyway. We're just going to take it from him. Well, Mike can't afford Blackwater, private military organization, to come in and fight off the Canadians. So So what does he do? Well, he calls the U.S. military. This is because, as Americans, we have agreed that we have a right to defense. We have a right to be safe from foreign armies within our country's borders. You following so far? Fire in Mike's house. Oh no. What do? Call the fire department. Why? Because it's a public service, because everybody has a right to having their fires put out. Does that seem odd to you? Early days, that was not the case. In the early days of the U.S., we had private fire departments. All of this is to say, there are a lot of services that we take for granted, that we shouldn't. There are services in the United States that deserve to be taken out of the hands of private companies and made publicly available. Number one of which is healthcare. There is no reason why in the United States only the rich deserve medical treatment. There's no reason why the rich deserve the best medical treatment. If somebody is rich, that is because they took more money from an operation than their workers did. There's the occasional solo act in whatever they do that becomes rich, and you know what? Good for them. But they don't deserve more than somebody who bakes bread for a living. They don't deserve better health than the guy that puts up aluminum siding on houses. You want to know what the reward is for being rich? You get more luxury goods. That's it. The reward for being rich is that simply you have more money, and that's all it should be. Sure, you can buy a nicer car. That's supposed to be a rich man's reward. Not you get to live. As always, got to add, though, what you can do about it. Well, you can vote in primaries. Vote for somebody who says flatly and directly that they support Medicare for all. It's an easy phrase to remember, Medicare for all. That is universal health insurance. The government should supply our medicine, and it's as simple as that. You want a recent real-world example of how this can work? My gosh, COVID vaccines were free, weren't they? It was real simple. Government just said, don't worry about it. We've got it. We want you vaccinated because it is in our benefit to have a healthy population, to have a disease-resistant population. Follow that example, take it to its logical conclusion. All healthcare. It is in the government's interest to not have Americans dying of heart attacks because they have a pain in their chest, but they wait 3 days because they just cannot afford another bill. It's in their interest. How can you make this happen? Voting in primaries and, of course, contacting your representative. A lot of your representatives say they're for it, and they chicken out because they feel the pressure, because giant donors, super PAC donors, don't want this. People with lots of money want you to stay poor. They don't want to wait in line for a doctor, and they know they won't have to if poor people are sitting at home dying instead of making them wait an extra 15 minutes. That's the calculation they've made and will make every single time. Don't put up with it. Vote in primaries. Contact your representative. This is Wicked. My name is Jake.